So in this problem, we have what we call a literal equation. It's literal because it doesn't have any numbers. And they want us to solve for x. All that means is they want us to they want x to be by itself. So instead of saying y equals, they want it to say x equals. Right now it says y equals, it's solved for y. They want it to solve for x. And the basic rule of thumb here is to ask yourself what's happening to x. And once you determine what we're doing with x, we're going to do inverse operations to undo that. So currently, this says that we are going to multiply, and there is a multiplication symbol there. The missing symbol, the fact that there was no symbol in between the x and the parentheses was implied multiplication. So it does say x times the sum of this quantity, okay? So it's just x times some number. We won't know the value of that number until we know the values of c and n and we add them together. But it still says x times. And what mathematical operation is the inverse operation of multiplication? It's division. And if you didn't know that, addition and subtraction are inverse operations. Multiplication and division are inverse operations. We know that if we're going to square something, taking the square root of something is the inverse operation, and so forth. So the inverse operation here that we're going to do is, instead of multiplying, we're going to divide. And what we are going to divide both sides of this equation by whatever we're multiplying x by. We're multiplying x by c plus n, so we're going to divide x by c plus n. And what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side. Now, this c plus n and that c plus n divide out because it's just some value over itself. We know that it has a value of 1, which leaves x to have a coefficient of 1. And over here, I have y divided by c plus n. And since I don't have any numbers, that's literally all I can do. That is going to be my answer. I solved for x. I got x to have a coefficient of 1. That's what solving for x means. And then I did that by undoing everything that was happening to x. So x is equal to y over c plus 1. So I need a fraction bar. I'm going to put y. And then on the bottom, I'm going to put c plus n. Okay, this formula is in your study cards, and I pulled your study card out. Here is the definition. This whole section is over simple interest. Here's the definition of interest, the definition of principal. The term rate and simple interest involves calculating interest only on the principal. We'll talk about compounding interest, which is real life. I don't know of a single, the only time you're going to run into simple interest is if you borrow money from your uncle and he charges you interest. That's the only time you're ever going to get simple interest. Every lending institution, bank, credit union, credit cards, whatever, they all charge compound interest. So this is the formula, and I believe this is the information that we're going to need to answer the question on that slide. Interest equals principal times rate times time. And it says the formula for calculating simple interest, I equals PRT, where P is the principal, R is the interest rate, and T is the total amount, no, total time. Okay, and determine whether the following statement is true or false. If the statement is false, make the necessary changes. In simple interest, only the original money invested or borrowed generates interest over time. That is true. the interest is computed on the original principal as well. No, that's the definition of compound interest, so it has to be A. Okay, assume there are 365 days in the year, the principal, so it looks like they're just going to give us a problem here. So we're going to do I equals PRT. Where's my I equals principal rate times time. Go through here and pick out the information. Find the simple interest owed for use of the money. Oh, they give me the P, the R, and the T. So we're just going to plug in I equals 4,000 times your interest rate. Obviously has to be written as a decimal. So 2% is 0.02. And then times 1 year. It says assume there are 365 days in the year. I don't know why we have to do days when it's usually for a period of time T. I don't know why they're telling me 365. Let me see. 1 year, 7%, time is 1. Yeah, I guess they would do that if they had asked me something, because they are multiplying right here by 1, which is which is what you would do too. Um, uh, I don't know. We'll just see why they're telling us 365 if we're using the time frame of a year. It says the period of time T. If they usually define the time right there as in days or months or whatever. But here they said year, so that's why I'm using a year instead of days. Best explanation I have for you on that one. So this would be times 1. And again, that would just be a calculation. 4,000 times 0.02 times 1. So that would be $80. So what did you do? Find the simple interest owed for the use of the money. So I guess you're borrowing that money. So when you pay it back, you can't pay back 4,000. You borrowed 4,000, but you have to pay back 4,080. Find the simple interest owed. Assume, okay, they just want me to say the 80. They didn't say the total payback. They just said find the interest. So this one would be the same, principal times rate times time. So 330, I would just do 330 times, write that as a decimal. 3% is 0.03 times 2 years. So 19, round to the nearest cent, so $19.80. So $19.80. Okay, so here they give us my time is 18 months. Simple interest. So again, I don't know why they're telling us it's 365 days when T is months. This is going to matter when we're doing compound interest, but we're doing simple interest. So we go by how T is defined. Find this, because we're just going to pay interest one time, and it's usually at the end of 18 months. So we're going to do 4,000 times 0.045 take this number. Remember, if you don't know how to move the decimal, then write 4.5 divided by 100. That's how you change it from percent to a decimal. I mean, a percent to a fraction, and then you divide 4.5 divided by 100, and that's going to move your decimal 2 places. And you multiply that times, I don't like that one either. I don't know if I'm going to do, because it's usually, hold on, let's see. When calculating simple interest, it just says time. Simple interest involves only on principal. I wanted to see how they were doing at the end of the first year. I wanted to see how they were defining time, because my instinct is telling me that I'm not going to multiply by 18. My instinct is telling me that I'm going to multiply by 1.5. That's what I think. Now, let's talk about where I got the 1.5. Let me see where I am on time. Okay, I'm running low on time. So, I'm running over time. So, I think this is going to be multiplied by 1.8. We'll see in just a second. And even if I'm wrong, we're going to have to finish it on another video. I think it's 1.5 because 18 months is 12 months, which is 1 year, plus 6 more months, which is half a year. So that's why I think it's times 1.5. So I'm going to do 1.5. And so that tells me that my answer is $270. I'm going to type in 270 and see if it's right. And like I said, if it's wrong, we'll discuss the right answer on the next video. Okay, I thought I was right.